Okay, so I'm back from healing and going up to the floor where I next need to go through. And it's interesting what happened here when I was originally recording. It was a couple minutes till 8 p.m. and my mom was texting me quite often to ask me to make dinner already. Because as a family we've always eaten pretty late, but generally when I'm the one making dinner I like to eat a little bit earlier than that. And I haven't been doing that quite as much recently as I should be, but if at all possible I like to eat like around 7:30. And I was talking at great length about how excited I was to be eating ravioli that night. I remember that's what I was going to make. And because it was a Tuesday night when I was recording it, and I always enjoy Tuesday nights because we always have some form of Italian food, which is by far my favorite. I've actually been to Italy, and well, here it's not quite as good as it was there. It's still delicious. But here, I'm happy I looked up at this moment because Pidgeotto evolves into its final form at level 36, and Pidgeotto evolves into a Pidgeot, which I am going to talk about when I go into the menu after this battle, as I show its stats. And come on, push A already. What took me so long? Oh yes, I remember what took me so long. I was looking up one of the Pokémon when I was talking about my challenge runs in Soul Silver that I couldn't remember the name of. But anyway, you can see here that Pidgeot's best stat is speed, and it's more of a well-rounded bird than some of the others. For example, Fearow is more offensive but less defensive. And in Generations 3 and earlier, as I've mentioned in the past, I far preferred Pidgey's family over any of the other flying types, but since then I've used different ones whenever possible. So at this point it was like 8 o'clock, and I knew that I would not complete all of Silph Co's recording at once, because once food was mentioned to me and I noticed it, I started to get hungry immediately, because as I had said, it's later than I was usually eating around that time. But I'll talk more now about how I choose to go through this area. As I've said, I fight all the trainers that are out in the open first, before anyone else, just that you can get to without using warp panels that are strewn about or opening up any of the locked doors. And then I get the item that can open up the locked doors, and I fight anyone that I can without going on any warp panel. I go back through the floors again and open up the locked doors that are immediately accessible to me. And then I use all the warp panels, which are common within Saffron City because the gym is of the psychic type, and teleportation and psychic powers kind of go hand in hand, especially in Pokemon games. And this all reminded me, how I go through this reminded me of another story from longer ago. Not quite so long, not like many years, but another one from high school. I was doing a solo run, the first solo Pokemon run I had ever done, and so I chose to do it in Generation 1 with Bulbasaur as my starter, because it's part poison type and so cannot be poisoned. I choose not to throw Pin Missile here because I don't see any use for it. But yes, I chose Bulbasaur because it couldn't be poisoned. And I remember the nightmare specifically of Silph Co, because even though I was around level 50 by that point, and thus they could do nearly nothing to harm me, you're very likely to run out of uses for your moves when you've only got one Pokemon and you can't know more than 4 moves at a time. So I had to leave so many times to heal, and it extended the time that I spent in Silph Co significantly, because every time I'm here, I fight every trainer just for the experience. And it often ends with me being slightly over-leveled, but I don't mind, because I use 6 Pokemon, so when I spread out the experience between the 6 of them, they often tend to be underleveled, and so I enjoy fighting as many trainers as possible to try and counteract that, which I know makes it probably easier than it should be, but it's just the way that I play the game. So, I'm going to take a warp panel here in a moment. I believe it's after this battle, or maybe I already took the warp panel. That's the one disadvantage to looking at the list of things that I have to say and then back to the game, is that I don't know what I've done, and so things that it's important for me to say at a certain time, I may very well miss them. But there is one warp panel that I take, even though it's not it's a slight deviation from my usual path, because you have to take that warp panel to get to the item that unlocks all the doors. And so, of course, if I don't take that warp panel and get to that item, then I can't very well continue on with the area. But it's just a minor thing. But most of what I have to talk about after that is other games that I've been playing around the time of this recording, and there are actually more games like that now that I've been playing more recently, including the one that has been my biggest distraction from editing this video finally. But the game that I was playing most around that time was Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. It's a great game, to be sure. And this is the floor where the warp panel is, by the way. And as much as I love the game, I'm not sure that I would have given it Game of the Year over Skyward Sword. And that's not to say in any way that Skyrim is bad, but it's just that with Legend of Zelda being so much of a special series to me, partially due to the fact that I've loved every game of it, and that the first game I ever beat was the original Legend of Zelda, I can't really be objective with any game compared to a Legend of Zelda game. It's just, I have bias towards any Zelda game. But that being said, Skyrim is certainly a great game, and I honestly couldn't tell you when I recorded this at what point of the game I was. I know I was doing a lot of side quests at that point and putting off the main story, which I like to try and do everything that I can at any point in the game before I continue on with the story. So of course I'm not very far in the story of that game even now because of the sheer number of side quests there are to do. But I haven't played the game as much recently because I've been playing other stuff. One of the games that I've been playing a lot since this recording more is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I had completed the Subspace Emissary first back when I got the game, and I don't know why I did it first, but I completed it fairly quickly, and since then I've been looking at all the challenges that you complete in the game, and one of the most recent ones I did was finally beating Classic Mode with everyone. I'm gonna shift away from that for a moment. As you see in the video, Valoo is evolving now. It reaches its final form at level 36, and if you're not interested in Pokemon, you might not know that this Pokemon is Charizard, and this is where we see the namesake of Valoo coming into play first more, being a fire dragon. And I've always thought, even when it gets to the flying subtype, I've always thought of Valoo as more of a fire type exclusively, because I almost always have a fire type or flying type on my team. So I elect not to learn his flying type moves, and I am going to stop learning it, but I keep on pushing the wrong button over and over and over again. And eventually I finally remember how to do that properly. But of course, Valoo from The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker is a much wider dragon than Charizard, but yeah, it felt like the closest thing to a good nickname that I could give to it. lost my train of thought. Curses. Yes, I was going to talk about Charizard more? Something about Charizard. Oh my god. I'll come back to that. Anyway, Skyrim. Great game. I had stopped talking about Skyrim. I was talking about Brawl. This is a serious problem. That's the warp panel I'm going to take. I've retreated to what's going on in the game because I forgot what I was saying about something else that was going on in the game. Charizard. Ah yes, typing. It does gain... It ends up having a 4 times weakness to rock, which is always a... If you ever are battling me in a Pokemon game, and I haven't devised a specialized team, bring a rock type, because my teams are always especially weak to rock. Charizard, of course, has a 4 times weakness to rock, and it gains a weakness to electric type moves. But in exchange, it is no longer affected by ground type moves at all, because it flies. So it loses that weakness, but gains a couple. But I feel it's worth the trade-off. Charizard is a fantastic Pokemon, and that's the card key which will open all the doors. So, I'm done talking about Brawl mostly. I just wanted to say all the challenges that I've been trying to pick off over time. And it's very clear that the same person made Brawl and the game that has captured most of my attention recently, which is Kid Icarus Uprising. It is probably... I'll go ahead and say it's my favorite 3DS game that I've gotten thus far. It is absolutely fantastic. And I see the challenges in that and note all the similarities because both Brawl and Kid Icarus were developed by Masahiro Sakurai, and you can definitely see some of the similarities between it. But I love the music. The gameplay controls, as most everyone mentions, are a little unwieldy at first, but once you find the style that works for you, because there are certain adjustments you can make, once you find the style that's most comfortable for you, the game gets a lot better from there. Personally, I have adjusted to the default controls, but I actually had a tweet of mine favorited by Bill Trinan, who is one of the localization people for Nintendo. I don't know how he found my tweet, probably because it had Kid Icarus in the in it, but I had said that I really should edit, but it was the day that Kid Icarus was released, and I was not willing to do anything besides play Kid Icarus. And I haven't completed it yet or anything. I've been trying to not spend all my time on one game, but it's difficult because it's so much fun. So if you have a 3DS and we're on the borderline of Kid Icarus, I would definitely recommend it. But apart from that, the other game that has been taking up a lot of my time is Mario Party 2. And I partially got the desire to play it because the Runaway guys are now doing an LP of it. But unlike as I would recommend for any Mario Party LP, I'm not doing the shortest turn setting. I'm doing the full 50 turn play. And so I'm spending like 3 hours on each board, and I just can't imagine myself recording for that long. I mean, this recording is fairly long, and the only other thing I've ever recorded that took almost this long was the Mario Party 4 board that I did. And even that, only because the turns, there are so many different mini games and so much can happen on each of the turns that I was able to keep the commentary moving fairly well. But of course, I suppose my commentary has degenerated to the point where I'm getting incoherent again, which is about the same point where I did in the original commentary. But because my thoughts are more organized, I'm getting through everything faster than I was before. And so I know that I'm going to be cutting this part in less than a minute, and I have stuff planned for after that. But of course, if I start talking about it now and cut the video where I intended to, then it'll be disjoint and I'll have started talking about something but it won't. It'll be in 2 separate videos, and I don't think that'll be fun. But I'm running into a wall here and realizing that yes, Pokemon that evolve through trading. There are 4 of them. Geodude evolves into Golem as its final form, Abra into Alakazam, Ghastly becomes Gengar, and Machop eventually becomes Machamp. And there are so many Pokemon that evolve with hold items and with certain moves, but I don't expand on that and cut the video here.